go over the commander. In case you don't already know who Chatterfang is, this is Chatterfang, the Squirrel General. He's a 3-cost, 3/3 legendary Squirrel Warrior with Forest Walk. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus that many 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens are created instead. He also has tap a black, sacrifice X squirrels, target creature gets plus X minus X until end of turn. So that can be used obviously as a sack outlet to either buff your creatures a little bit or just spot remove opponent's creatures. Since it is in the form of plus X negative X, you can kill stuff with it, and it can even get through indestructible because it's negative X. Yep, overall very good card. That's our commander. First, we're gonna go into the creatures. I'm gonna do this kind of backwards. We're gonna start with the highest cost creatures. I know you guys are gonna say, "Oh, this seems like a pretty high curve." It is, but there's a lot of ways to break mana and generate mana. So, uh, like I said before, this deck is not completely perfected. It's not completely optimized. There's plenty of things that I'm still tinkering with and seeing what works and what doesn't. So, all right, starting it off with the largest creature we got is Crater Hoof. Yay! Everybody loves Crater Hoof. Woo! It's instant game win for this deck usually. It's one of the game enders. Pretty straightforward. Cost 8 for a 5/5 with haste. Enters the battlefield. Creatures you control gain trample and XX plus X plus X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Pretty good. We got Horror from Across the Plains. This guy's pretty interesting. I don't see him played very often. He has whenever a player sacrifices another permanent, you put a +1/+1 counter on each control a creature you control. So really easy to build up your deck. That counts for anybody, a player, so anybody sacrificing another permanent. It triggers him building your board up. So not only are you going wide, but you're going tall as well, which is great. Tendershoot Dryad, a 5-cost 2/2 Ascend. If I control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green sapperling. And sapperlings you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the city's blessing. So this one came in the pre-con. It was okay. It might end up taking that one out for something a little bit more lower cost, but moving on, we have the Odd Acorn Gang. It's a 5-cost 5/5 Menace Trample Reach. Squirrels you control have tap. Target squirrel gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Whenever one or more squirrels you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card. So pretty good. You buff your squirrels, get some card draw out of it. Next we have 2 shamans that are almost identical. They both cost 5. They both have 1/1 Baron toughness. They each come in and make 4 squirrels for you, and they give squirrels +1/+1. One of them has Vanishing 3, and Deep Forest Hermit comes in. It comes in with 3 time counters. So every upkeep, you remove a time counter. When you remove the last one, you have to sacrifice it. Deranged Hermit, slightly better, much more expensive because it has Echo instead of Vanishing 3, which Echo is the next upkeep after this hits your field. You have to pay its mana cost, otherwise you sack it. And then it stays on the field after that. So pretty good token generation, Squirrel Lord cards. Next we have Yigra, Eater of All. This one is pretty fun. It's 5-cost, 6/6 with ward, sacrifice a food. Other creatures are food artifacts in addition to their other types. So, pretty big game changer there. Lets us play a little bit more with food combination related abilities and triggers and stuff like that. And it makes itself bigger. It does not have trample built in, so it's not like game ending like Crater Hoof is, but still pretty good. Next we have Mirkwood Bats. This is good for an aristocrat strategy for tokens. Whenever I create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses a life. So, pretty good there. Toski, Bearer of Secrets. Say 4-drop 1/1. The spell can't be countered. It's indestructible. He attacks each combat if able, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. So more card draw. There's even more card draw on top of it. Your Species Specialist is a 4-cost 2/3. As it enters, you choose a creature type, usually going to be squirrel. Whenever a creature of the chosen type dies, you may draw a card. Very good draw card. Hazel's Brewmaster. It's a 4-cost 3/4 Menace Squirrel Warlock. Whenever it enters or attacks, exile up to one target card from a graveyard and create a food token. Foods you control have all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with it. So that's doing multiple things for you. It's controlling, spot removing cards from graveyards in case somebody's trying to use their graveyard and recur things or do some shenanigans from the graveyard. You can spot remove cards and create a food token in the process. And potentially even steal a pretty useful ability from a creature if you manage to exile it with him. So, yep, pretty cool card. Here's Hazel the Root Bloom. This one is the original commander that comes with the Squirreled Away precon, and it's pretty good, but it does have some caveats I'll get into in a second. It's a 4-cost 3/5. Tap to pay 2 tap and pay 2 life. Tap X untapped tokens you control. Add X mana in any combination of colors. At the beginning of your end step, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. If that token is a squirrel, instead create 2 tokens that are copies of it. So the only caveat with this is you already have to have a token in on your field. Like something else has to make the initial token. You can make tokens with it after that, but you have to have a token already on the field to get it started. She in herself does not create the initial token. So, still a pretty good card. Next we have Pitiless Splendor. This card is amazing for this deck. 4-cost 1/4 Human Pirate. Whenever another creature you control dies, you create a colorless treasure. So, like, any sack triggers a treasure token, which, if our commander's out, sees another creature mate, and you can exploit that. So, and we have Skewt Swarm. It's a 3-cost 1/1 with landfall. Whenever land enters, you get a 1/1 insect, and unless you can trust, you control 6 lands, then it makes a copy of itself, which makes more tokens down the line. More. Yep. And next we have Enduring Vitality. It's a 3-cost 3/3 with Vigilance. Creatures you control have tapped to add 1 mana of any color. This helps us break our mana really fast. And it's kind of hard to get to remove because if it dies, it comes back as just an enchantment. Next we have Champion of Lamphold. So it's a 3-cost 1/1. Creatures with power less than it can't block creatures you control. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So that counts for tokens as well. So we're going to be generating a lot of token creatures, and the more stuff I get into the battlefield and it sees that, the bigger it gets. Less likely our opponents can block anything that we have. Next we have Scurry of Squirrels. It's a 3-cost 2/2 with Myriad. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So potentially can buff up our creatures, but more importantly, the Myriad helps us generate tokens every time it attacks, which we like doing. We like doing tokens in this deck. We like generating tokens. So Tireless Provisioner, 3-cost 3/2 with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, create a food token or a treasure token, or token generation. Academy Manufacturer. It's a 3-cost 1/3 assembly worker artifact creature. If you would create a clue, a food, or a treasure, you instead create one of each. Next we have Camellia, the Seed Miser, which is a really good squirrel warlock for 3 mana. It's a 3/3 with Menace. Other squirrels you control have Menace. Whenever you sacrifice one or more foods, create a 1/1 green squirrel creature. It also has tap 2 and forage to put a +1/+1 counter on each other squirrel you control. So it works really well with Ygritte, especially, you know, since she makes all creatures into foods, then foraging goes pretty much infinite. You can make all the squirrels you want and make them as big as you want after that. Like, yeah. One of the main reasons why I include Ygritte is this Camellia. Next, we have Warren Soul Trader. It's a 3-cost 3/3. Pay a life, sacrifice another creature, create a treasure token. Almost infinite, very early game. You're limited by your life resource that you're paying, but yeah, still pretty easy to mass populate some squirrels real quick. Chittering Dispatcher. Cost 3. 2/3 Eldrazi Drone with Devoid and Myriad. Love Myriad again for this kind of token creation concept that we're doing. When it leaves the battlefield, create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token that can sacrifice. You can sacrifice it for colorless mana. This is helping us ramp every time it attacks. It's got Myriad, so it's making copies of itself, and you have to consider that after the combat, those things, regardless of whether they're blocked or not, they will be leaving the battlefield after the Myriad triggers and stuff, which nets you the Eldrazi spawns, which is more token generation, which is even better. I don't see that one used very often. I really like it. Don't get to really play with it very often, but don't draw into it very often. But it seems good. We'll see in time if it's worth keeping or not. Next, we have Tireless Tracker. A 3-cost 3/2 Human Scout with Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you investigate. You make a clue. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you put a +1/+1 counter on them. Pretty self-explanatory. Next, we have Bloodroot Apothecary. So it's a 3-cost 3/3 Squirrel Druid with Toxic 2. Whenever enters, you and target opponent each create a treasure token. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-creature token, that player gets 2 poison counters. So this is useful in that you can lock down other players who are trying to exploit treasure loops and stuff like that, like we are. You know, we just want to do that. Just us, you know. Peregrine Took, a 3-cost 2/3 Halfling Citizen. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional food token are created instead. And it also has sacrifice 3 foods to draw a card. And we've got Scurry Oak, another 3-cost creature. It's a tree folk, a 1/2 with Evolve. So whenever something bigger than it comes in, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on it, you create a squirrel from it. Which brings me to my next card, which these two together are a 2-card combo in this deck. This is Ivy Lane Denizen. It's a 4-cost 2/3 Elf Warrior. Whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creatures. So the idea is if you have both these on the field and you manage to generate a green creature token or play a green creature or return a green creature to the field in any way, have it enter your field, it triggers Ivy Lane Denizen, which puts a +1/+1 counter on a target creature, and then you would target Scurry Oak with that +1/+1, and it would trigger its ability, making a squirrel, which obviously is another green creature entering the battlefield, triggering Ivy Lane Denizen again, and creating the loop there. The infinite creature, infinite +1/+1 counters. Lots of fun stuff. 2-card combo, pretty strong. Next we have Thornbolt Forager. It's a 2-cost 2/2. Taps for a green. Also tap and forage. You can tap it and forage to add 2 mana of any combination of colors. And tap 3 a forest and it to search your library for a squirrel card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So tutors other squirrels, pretty useful. Osteomancer Adept. It's a 2-drop 2/2 with Death Touch. It's a Squirrel Warlock. Has tap until end of turn. You may cast creature spells from your graveyard by foraging in addition to paying its other costs. If you cast a spell this way, that creature enters with a finality counter. So a little bit of recursion in case something important died and we want to get it back, or we end up discarding something that we wanted to use later. just a little bit of recursion in the deck. I know black green typically builds decks around recursion, but this one is just not so much of that. So that little bit does help us. Not necessary, but it's another card that I don't use often, but I can see why it'd come in a pinch. Next one is Marionette Apprentice. It's a 2-drop 1/2 with Fabricate 1, meaning it can come in with either a +1 counter or make a servo token. We typically want to go with the token aspect because obviously we're doing tokens here. Whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So it's another part of the aristocrat in-game strategy of making tokens, stacking them, and dealing damage to players without even having to go to combat. Okay, next one is Valley Route Caller. This one does revolve around combat, but it's just as good as an aristocrat strategy, in my opinion. It's actually just a lot faster. The 2-cost 1/3 Squirrel Warlock with Menace. Whenever it attacks, each opponent loses X life, and I gain X life, where X is the number of other squirrels I control. Squirrels, bats, lizards, and rats, but squirrels mainly what we're focusing in on here. So if you have a decent number of squirrels, each attack trigger of this guy can do a massive amount of damage to everybody at the table. Not only that, but gain me a lot of life too, so yep. Very good card. Next we have Squirrel Sovereign. Just a 2-drop 2/2 Squirrel Noble that gives other squirrels +1/+1. And we have Fiend Artisan, which is a 2-drop 1/1. He gets +1/+1 for each creature card in our graveyard. You can main ability we want him for his little tutoring ability. You can pay X, a green or black, and tap him, and sacrifice another creature. Search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery. So not only are we tutoring creatures, we're slapping them straight on the field. And we have Valley Might Caller. It's a 1-drop 1/1 Frog Warrior with Trample. Whenever another frog, rabbit, raccoon, or squirrel you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on him. So really good turn 1 creature trample that gets bigger every turn. Gilded Goose. It's a 1-drop 0/2 bird with flying. When it enters, you create a food. Self-explanatory. Tap 1 a green and it to create a food, and tap it, sacrifice a food, add 1 mana of any color. So good mana dork with token food creation built in. And then we got Birds of Paradise, which is just self-explanatory mana dork. Alright, next we're getting into the non-creatures. First off, I want to show you guys Awake in the Woods. This card is amazing. It's very explosive in this deck. You tap 2 green and X to create X/1/1 Green Forest Dryad land creature tokens. So that triggers all the landfall abilities, the token creation triggers, green creature entering, those triggers. Does a lot of things. It helps you ramp really quick, and helps you build a board really quick, and just it exponentially speeds up the game for you. Alright, then we got Doubling Season. Yes, I got the goose version of this. Thank you to my brother who bought me this adorable fucking goose version of Doubling Season. I love it. If you don't know what it does, check it out. I mean, it doubles your token production and your counter production. So, very good card. Staple in a deck like this. And we have Second Harvest. 4-cost instant. For each token you control, create a token that's a copy of target that permanent. Pretty much doubles whatever you have on the field. Whatever tokens you have, it creates a copy of each of those tokens for each of them. So next we have Growing Rights of Itlimoc. It's a 3-cost enchantment. When it enters, you look at the top 4, pick a creature from those, and put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures, you can transform this card. Now on the back of it, it is a legendary land that taps for either a green or taps for a green for each creature you control. And that's obviously where we want to go with this deck. Verdant Command, cost 2. For an instant, choose 2. Target player creates 2 tapped 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens. Counter target loyalty ability of a planeswalker. Exile target card from a graveyard, or target player gains 3 life. Pretty simple instant speed little squirrel generator. Next we have Chitter Spitter. It's a 3-cost artifact with tap a forest and tap it to create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. It also has, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice a token. If you do, put an acorn counter on it, and each acorn counter on it gives all your squirrels +1/+1 for each acorn counter on it, so pretty nice. Now we have Saw in Half. This is a pretty good utilitarian card. It costs 3 for an instant speed. Destroy target creature and make 2 smaller copies of it, pretty much. And yeah, it can be definitely useful in duplicating a creature card effect that you have going on, or triggered ability, or whatever. And at the same time, you're making 2 copy tokens of it, so it's token generation as well. So works out. Next, we have Rootcast Apprenticeship, which is a 4-cost sorcery. You can choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. First mode is put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Second mode is create a token that's a copy of target token you control. Third mode is target player creates a 1/1 green squirrel creature. And the last mode is target opponent sacrifices a non-token artifact. So like I said, you can choose more than, you can choose the same mode more than once. You choose 3, you can mix and match whatever the hell you want to do. Like, a pretty good card. A little bit of high cost, but it's still pretty universal. And we have a 4-cost Parallel Lives, 4-cost enchantment that doubles our token production, just like doubling season. And we have Squirrel Nest. It's a 3-cost enchantment aura that enchants land, and it gives it tapped to create a 1/1 green squirrel creature. This one I also want to show in the 2-card combination here with Earthcraft. This is an older card. It's very expensive. Costs 2 for an enchantment that lets you tap an untapped creature you control to untap target basic land. So this combination goes infinite, because if you have Squirrel Nest on a basic, you tap the basic to create a squirrel with it, then you use Earthcraft to tap down that squirrel, because Earthcraft, the additional cost of the ability is to tap an untapped creature. The creature doesn't need to have haste to be tapped by Earthcraft. It needs haste to tap itself. So Earthcraft can tap down that creature, even though it's got summoning sickness, to untap the land that you just tapped to make that first squirrel in order to make a second, and then continue on and so forth. Tapping the squirrel, untapping the land, tapping the land, make another squirrel, tap that squirrel, infinite loop 2-card combo. Very early game, obviously 2 and 3 cost for those. Very good combo. Now we've got our removal and our board wipes. We have a Toxic Deluge. Pretty self-explanatory. Good black board wipe that gets around indestructible. Assassin's Trophy, which is just destroy target permanent. Very good. Wear Down. This one's good for destroying target artifact or enchantment. And if you gift the card, you can destroy 2 target artifacts and or enchantments, which is great. Great value for that. Next we have Swarmyard Massacre, which is a 5-cost sorcery that lets us create 2 squirrels and then give everything that isn't a squirrel -1/-1 for each squirrel you control, virtually. And that includes insects, rats, and spiders as well, but I'm just focusing in on the squirrels. We do have insects, we do have stuff like that, but very good one-sided board wipe for squirrels. Next we have another really good board wipe. This one is the Meat Hook Massacre. This one's one of my favorites. I love that I pulled a couple of these. They're amazing. This is like better than Crater Hoof, because it's just, you can win the game instantly with it, or you could use it as a mini board wipe and deal damage to people and gain life, and it stays on the board as an aristocrat pretty much. So something of mine dies, I get to do A damage to each opponent. Yeah, this card's amazing. Next we have Sylvan Library. This one's probably the best draw card in green, like in my opinion. Heroic Intervention, just for some protection. Black Market Connections. This one's great for this deck. Costs 3 for an enchantment. Stays on the board every turn. If you use all 3 abilities, you will pay 6 life every turn in order to do all 3. But in the process, you will generate a treasure token, a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter with changeling, and you'll draw an extra card every turn. So it's worth the 6 life in my opinion, especially when you have multiple ways to gain your life back in this deck. Next, we have a Worldly Tutor. Pretty straightforward. 1 green pep for an instant. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, shuffle and put that on top. Back to the Serpent. Tap 3 for a sorcery that you get to choose a creature type, and target player draws X card and loses X life, where X is the number of creatures they control of the chosen type. Now, usually you're going to use this and target yourself with it. If you have a decent amount of squirrels, you're going to pick out squirrels as the creature type, and you're going to take that much damage and draw that many cards, which sounds great, right? Well, this can also knock a player out if there's another player doing the same strategy as you, and they're trying to go wide, especially, like in another token creation deck or something like that. You can potentially kill a player with this if they're outpacing you. You can just target them and have them lose all the life for each creature they control of the type, whatever you choose. So, works out multiple ways. Here we have Nuka-Cola Vending Machine. It's a 3-cost artifact with tap 1 and tap it to create a food token. And it also has whenever you sacrifice a food, create a tapped treasure token. Very good token generation. We have our altars and mana generators and stuff like that coming up here. Well, before we do this, let's see. We have Skull Clamp as one of our last draw cards. Yep. Pretty self-explanatory. Slap it on a squirrel. Squirrel dies. You get to draw 2 cards. Next we have Culling the Weak. 1 cost for an enchantment that lets you sacrifice a creature to add 4 black pips to your mana pool. Similarly, we have Ashnod's Altar. 3-cost artifact. Sacrifice a creature. Add 2 colorless. We have a Dark Ritual. Idol of Oblivion. 2-cost artifact that draw a card. Activate only if you create a token this turn, which is going to be easy for us because most of our deck is all about generating tokens. It also has tap 8, tap it, sacrifice it to make a 10/10 Eldrazi creature token, which it can be useful sometimes. Not amazing, but not really, worrying about that. More focused on the first ability. And then we have a Talisman of Resilience, an Arcane Signet, and a Soul Ring. And that's it for the non-creatures in this deck. I know I don't have a whole lot of mana rocks. Some of you might flip out, but as you can tell, I have better ways of breaking my mana really early game, so I don't really think I need to spend the mana and time trying to slap down a couple talismans and rocks and stuff when they don't do anything for the rest of my deck, like making tokens. Alright, so now all we got left to go is the lands. First couple I'm going to go through are kind of special, but not really. None of this is really necessary. Made it through most of the important stuff in the deck, but here's some of the interesting lands that I like running in here. There's a couple of MDFCs. Malakir Rebirth for regenerating a creature. Revitalizing Repass to give it a +1/+1 and indestructible until end of turn, just a little bit of protection. Aggro Mauling for spot removal of a creature. Balagad Recovery for recurring something back to our hand from our grave. Disciple of Freylease for drawing a bunch of cards. And then that's all the MDFCs. So special lands, we're going to have the Shire, the food generation, Fountain Port, more token generation, Swarm Yard, regenerate to squirrel, so good protection. Fabled Passage, just a good land. Maya makes everything into a forest. Obviously beneficial because our commander has forest walk built into him, which is amazing for this deck. Um, got 3 basic swamps, 5 basic forests, and we've got Lenore Wastes, Oak Hollow Village, Overgrown Tomb, Temple of Malady, Wastewood Verge, Slitherbore Pathway, Warren Reef the Vastwood, Twilight Mire, Woodland Cemetery, Underground Mortuary, Mosswort Bridge, Westvale Abbey, Verdant Catacombs, Treasure Vault, and Command Tower. And that's all our lands. And that's pretty much it for the Squirrel deck. Again, like I said, I play casually with friends most of the time, so nothing's crazy competitive about this. It does move kind of fast, depending on the hand you draw. It runs pretty consistently. Um, I've won games with just 2 mana. You know, even if I got in several turns into the game, it runs pretty well, even on very restrictive mana. But I am thinking about tweaking a few things and maybe adding a land or 2 back into it and help curve that out and reducing some of the higher cost cards and all that good stuff. But yeah, more or less, this is what I've been playing with. It's been fun. It's been fun to play around with and build, and it's been a really good deck for me so far. So if you have any interest to look into this World Away Precon, I highly recommend it. Deck is really fun out of the box. It's even more fun to tinker with and start breaking the rules with, you know, all this crazy token production. But yeah, again, if you guys made it through the video this far, I deeply appreciate your time, and thank you for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you have a better deck list for squirrels or some tips or recommendations for what to swap out, what to put in, or show me what you guys are building. I'm very curious to see how everybody else builds around this. I've seen very expensive decks like based around Chatterfang and stuff, and I think this is my own little spin on it. It's not too much different from everything else. You know, it has its typical crater hoof and all that, but I think it's my own. I kind of made it my own, and I really enjoy playing with it. So again, thank you guys for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to check me out. Check out my other videos. I'm going to have a couple more deck tech videos come out soon. The next one I'm going to be doing is the Necron Precon. You know, what I built out of that one. That's another fun deck that all my friends hate. So catch me next time. I hope you guys have a good one. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.